Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know. On today's show, we're going to be talking quarterbacks, and later in the show, we're going to be answering fans' questions. And we have a lot of the news today. A lot. Well, not a ton, but a good enough. Good amount. Mike Tannenbaum will officially leave the Dolphins soon. This is reported by Ian Rappaport. A busy day for the Arizona Cardinals just got busier. Arizona is expected to announce former Dolphins executive VP Mike Tannenbaum to a front office position, things heating up in the desert. Thank God, dude. Thank God. It's funny because if you look at Arizona and what they're doing with how they're assembling the organization, it's so similar to what we did with Adam Gase. They have a very poor coaching staff. A really inexperienced head coach. He's never even coached on the NFL level, which is crazy. He wasn't a very successful college coach. Now they're getting Mike Tannenbaum, of all people, to help them make decisions on collecting talent. That's a dumpster fire right there. So thank God, dude, because obviously when the news first came out, Adam was fired. I think we all expected Mike to be fired, and when we were like he was moved to a different position, it was just ridiculous. So it's nice to hear this. I mean, Mike did the worst job out of any of them, to be honest with you, because he was there before Adam Gase was there. People forget about that. He went through two GMs or one GM before Adam Gase got there. So he was actually a big problem for a long time. So he deserved to be fired for the job that he did. This next news story. This is very interesting stuff. Dolphins O-line coach wants to retain Juwan James. The Dolphins will have to make a tough decision. The Dolphins will have a tough decision to make on free agent offensive lineman Juwan James, but it sounds like he has at least one fan in the team's new offensive line coach, Pat Flattery. He says, "I think it keeps." This is what he said. He said, "Quote: I think it keeps the continuity there. If we're able to retain him." We sure hope he does stay with Miami. He's a good football player. This is his quote. This is what he said, our line coach. I had an opportunity to go back and watch every game for 2018. He's a fairly young guy also, as he has some things technique-wise he needs to get better. So, yeah, he wants him to stick around. Juwan James is actually, if he is released, it's predicted that he will have a pretty good market. Or not released when he hits the free agent market. So if we don't tag him, that was my dogs. Dogs are making a lot of noise right now. But if we don't tag him, obviously, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if we'll save money if we tag him. Will he have as big as a market that he will, maybe next year, maybe we can get it for cheaper down the line. It's an interesting thing. Or do we just go ahead and give him a long-term deal? Because you got to remember, Laramie, he's a way better player than Juwan. I think Laramie is a top 3 tackle in the National Football League. Juwan is just he's a solid tackle. He's a good right tackle. And that's that is really hard to find. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that would want a tackle of his level, especially when that's versatile as he is. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. If I was, in Chris Greer's shoes, it really depends on what the market is for him, but I would love to keep him because that's just one less thing we would have to fill. And if we get someone like a Kyler Murray in the draft, at least the tackles will be established, and, they're 2 vet tackles that have had very solid careers up until this point. One of them should have had an All-Pro. I think Juwan James is a lot. He's in terms of the AFC, when you look at the especially right tackles, he's one of the better ones in the conference, for God's sake. So, he's not a bad player. So, I think he's a talented player. But we're gonna have a lot of cap space anyway, so I don't think we're really gonna have to worry about that down the line because we're gonna cut a lot of fat here soon. So, I don't think we'll have to worry about Xavier and Laramie's contracts. But his contract is predicted at least to be pretty high. So again, it really depends on the market, but the level of player and the caliber of player that he is, I think he is worth keeping, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens with him. This next news story comes from Dolphins Wire. How the Patriot Way could influence the Miami Dolphins in free agency. General Manager, this comes from Dolphins Wire. I think I already said that. General Manager Chris Greer only overlapped with the Patriots head coach Bill Belichick for one season in New England. And that came before Belichick was brought over to the New York Jets for a 3-year stint as the defensive coordinator. But head coach Brian Flores and many other fresh faces within the organization have been ingrained with the Patriot Way, the philosophies and theories of coaching and team building for numerous seasons. But no one seems to be able to replicate that magic elsewhere. And that isn't to say that Miami Dolphins shouldn't try. But what can Chris Greer, Brian Flores, and company do differently in years past to try to help maximize their rebuilding effort? We spoke yesterday about how Chris Greer isn't going to be a big free agency spender. A declaration. You guys know what I'm trying to say. I can't say it. Sometimes you just get in these word boxes. I don't know. That plays directly into one specific corner of the Patriots' philosophy. Compensatory picks for the second straight year, the Miami Dolphins have been awarded none. Meanwhile, the Patriots, fresh off their 6th Super Bowl victory, awarded 2 third-round selections and 4 overall. Greer deciding Miami is going to be a passive player in the free agent market opens the door for the team to be a greater beneficiary of extra picks. The value of these selections grew in value back in 2017 when the NFL owners gave the green light for these picks to be traded too. So how does Miami replicate this piece of the Patriot Way? That comes down, they value guys like Cameron Wake, William Hayes, and Juwan James at price point to retain your talent, but also account for a potential pick on the line by re-signing them as well. This really just reinforces that the Dolphins need conviction with their own talent. If the team deems Juwan James is worth $9 million per year and James would rather play elsewhere for $10 million, then the team needs to be comfortable with that proposition of a 2020 third round selection as their return on their investment. So I think that would really just detail. It's a good segue from the last story from with Juwan James. I think it's a good strategy too, because either way you're getting compensated for the loss. Either you retain Juwan if you don't want to pay him the extra $1 million a year, like $10 million, as opposed to $9 million, you still get compensated with the third round pick, which is pretty good. It's better than losing nothing, and that strategy is. I like it. I mean, look, the Patriots just won their, 6th Super Bowl. Have, how many did it say? 3 third-round picks? That's crazy. So, that's definitely an effective strategy, and I think that's a nice little caveat to what we just read. This next news story also, this comes from the Finsider. 5 Miami Dolphins cuts that carry no dead cap space. If the Miami Dolphins truly want to rebuild their franchise, they will need to clear cap space, and that means they need to cut some veteran players to save some money. Saving money isn't the problem. There are players on the roster who can be released with no dead cap money. There are also some who can be released with little cap penalty. Each player who needs to be replaced, of course, but if the Dolphins are looking to get younger or we're actually pretty young as a football team, or find players with some upside and potential, the finding replacement should already be in the plan. Rebuilding is never fun for any organization, and it shows a past inability to find players that fit what they are trying to accomplish. Here are the top 5 players with no dead cap space, and how their release would impact the roster. Robert Quinn, he's owed $12 million. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty obvious one. I mean, Robert Quinn was terrible. And that should not be... Again, this is 5 Dolphins cuts that carry no dead cap space. So, yeah. Quinn acquired via trade ahead of last year's draft, and all indications were that he would turn into a potential Pro Bowl season opposite of Cameron Wake. That didn't happen, and Quinn was mostly a disappointment in 2018. So, let's get to the money. Quinn would likely... Unless the guaranteed money was relatively the same, he's scheduled to make $12 million in 2019. According to OverTheCap.com, as seen in the image above, the Miami Dolphins would save the entire contract, which is not guaranteed. 2019 is the final year of the deal. If the Dolphins want to reduce his cap and leave him on the roster, they would need likely to extend his deal. So there you go. We really aren't. I mean, I think that one's an obvious move. Devontae Parker is. We'll just fly through these. Devontae Parker, Danny Amendola. Again, this is players that will carry no dead cap space. Oh my God. The next one is Akeem Spence, Daniel Kilgore. I think here's the last one. The last one is Daniel Kilgore. So yeah, I mean, all of those are pretty obvious moves in my opinion. I mean, I would have cut more than that, even though it probably would take a, they might not be the greatest move for cap space, but there are other players on the roster that I would get rid of. I mean, if we're in a rebuild, then let's rebuild. I mean, why the heck do we care about cap space? It's not like we're going to get anyone here, It's not like we're trying to build through free agency or anything, so let's just cut it up, boys. I mean, if this is what we're doing. This last news story, this comes from the Sun Sentinel. It's more along an opinionative piece than it is really news. But this does lead into the quarterback conversation. This is from the Sun Sentinel, by the way. Did the Dolphins learn a top lesson about finding a quarterback? This is a column about how the Dolphins shouldn't. This is by Dave Hyde, by the way, longtime writer for the Dolphins. Dolphins shouldn't put all their hopes on one quarterback, and only one, in the manner they always have and never get right. Before I get there, a word about Kyler Murray. The Oklahoma quarterback will still measure a fraction under 5'10" this week at the NFL Combine. I don't know how he knows that. He will still weigh north of 200 pounds with a hearty pre-weight and breakfast. Okay, his numbers will be headlined and debated, but not sway anyone's thoughts for better or worse. We've already reached the point where teams either want Murray or don't. Either think his small body will survive like Russell Wilson or collapse like Robert Griffin. And I think he brings up a great point. Taking more chances on quarterbacks is something that the Dolphins have not done, and they have not invested. And we've talked about this before, but they have not invested a lot in that over the years. I mean, we've only taken 3 first-round picks, and we've used. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. We've only used 3 first-round picks in our team's history. All 3 of those players were Bob Greasy, Hall of Famer, Dan Marino, Hall of Famer, and then Tannehill was the other one. Over the years that this organization has been a thing, only 3 first-round picks have been used on quarterbacks, which is insane. No other team in the National Football League can say that. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's insane. That's an insane. It's crazy. I mean, you think about all the great quarterbacks that we could have had, especially in the 2000s. I mean, it's insane. I mean, we could have easily have had Aaron Rodgers. Easily. I mean, he even visited the team building. I'm sure you guys have all heard the story. Same thing with Drew Brees. I mean, those are just what-ifs that could have happened for our franchise that unfortunately did not happen. But it's just crazy to think this organization has been that stingy on quarterbacks. I mean, it's the most important position, not only for success on the field, but for organizational and franchise success in terms of making revenue, putting your team on the map, getting in Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night football on a consistent basis, being the talk of the town, stuff like that. All revolves around a quarterback, and if you have one, then you're gonna get all of those things. If you don't, then you're just dead, really, floating in the ocean. So it's crazy to think about we haven't been around as long as someone like the Steelers or the Lions or someone like that, but we've been around a very long time. So it's pretty crazy to think about it like that. And regardless if you like this year's quarterback class or not, I really do feel like you have to take one. If I was a GM, I would be like, if we're a quarterback needy team, I would take one in the first 3 rounds, regardless. If it's a 3rd round pick, then it's a 3rd round pick, but at least you're taking a flyer out on some. I mean, look what the Seahawks did. They struck gold with Russell Wilson, and he was a 3rd round pick. Maybe even later than that, but I'm pretty sure he was a 3rd round pick after Bobby Wagner. That was one heck of a draft, but. So, I mean, you never know, man. I mean, Ryan Finley is a guy that could possibly be a later round pick who could actually turn into something special. You never know. There are always players like that have that kind of potential that might not be as electric in college as a Kyler Murray, or maybe he's not as talented as a Drew Lock and stuff, stuff like, or Dwayne Haskins, who played at Ohio State, just a little bit more under the radar, small school, like your Tony Romos or your Kurt Warners and stuff like that. So you never really know what you're gonna get with the quarterback. No one knows for sure about a head coach, a quarterback, or it doesn't matter. You never really know. So I do think the Dolphins need to be less stingy, regardless of who's in that quarterback draft. And that draft, these next, however long it takes, dude. I don't care, but I don't think. I mean, it's like the Steelers. The Steelers always take a receiver, and that's obviously. I mean, look at all the great receivers they had: Santonio Holmes, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, Hines. That's just over the last few years. Hines Ward. Juju Smith-Schuster, Martavis Bryant, who had a really, really, really hot start to his career. I mean, they've had so many great receivers come through. I mean, it's to me it's a no-brainer. And the Dolphins definitely need to be less stingy when it comes to the quarterback position, because it is the most valuable position in all of football. And I'm going to rank my top quarterbacks in the draft before we get into the fan Q&A. But before we do that, I do want to detail what I'm saying. Like, let's say, you remember when Miles Jack fell to the second round? I'm not saying, like, if there's something crazy like that happens, then you obviously take that player. Like, if there's some, like, super good, maybe he fell for mysterious reasons, maybe it was injury off the field, who knows what it could have been. You take that player, like a Tyrann Mathieu, who should have been drafted in the first round, who wasn't, just because of weed. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. But if there isn't that player, it's not really even a reach. To me, a third-round pick, if there's not a clear cut, like, this guy dropped to us in the third round, then, to me, you look at the quarterbacks, take who's ever the best available. At least take a quarterback in all 7 of the rounds. At least one of them. But I would rather have this semi cream of the crop when it comes to the first 3 rounds than take one in the later rounds. That's just obviously there have been rare, talking about Brady and stuff like that. Kurt Warner undrafted, Tony Romo undrafted. Sometimes you find players like that, but in the first 3 rounds, I think you can find a solid quarterback in there somewhere. But again, the draft is such circumstantial. Like, who the heck, like, you never know what's going to happen in the draft. So that's my point is like, something crazy like Miles Jack falling, or obviously, who the heck was the running back last year that came out, drafted by the Redskins, super talented player, Darius Geis, I think is his name, or maybe what's his name, man? I can't remember his name right now. I always forget names, but he's a very talented running back. He fell because of his personality issues and all that other stuff. Obviously, you take a talent like that if he falls to you, but if there's nothing there, I feel like you have to take a quarterback, especially. You never really know. I mean, nobody thought Russell Wilson was going to be Russell Wilson. Nobody thought Dak Prescott was going to be Dak Prescott. Those are all 3rd to 4th round picks. So that's all I think the Dolphins definitely need to be less frugal when it comes to selecting quarterbacks. All right. Now, depending on what the strategy is this year, like if we're actually tanking for Tua, then do what was reported earlier in the year and just build the lines, build the offensive and defensive line. So before we get into the fan Q&A and we answer fans' questions, I wanted to rank the quarterbacks. This is actually not that hard. At least for me. The third spot is where it gets really hard. But to me, the 1 and the 2 is easy. Kyler Murray, to me, is the most talented quarterback in this draft, and I think he's the best. So I would put him number 1. I think he's going to be a great player. People forget, this league is not the same it was before. This is a totally different national. I mean, Kyler, to me, and people will bring up, first of all, the whole Robert Griffin III thing, he could not, even Mike Shanahan said that he wasn't a very good pocket passer. Kyler is so much better than Robert was in college. Like, just because they're both mobile does not mean they're the same guy. Like, that happens so much. You get these stereotypes that people have with athletes. Just because a quarterback can run does not mean he can't throw it from the pocket. And that's why they get lumped in with all these other players, which to me is crazy. But people are like, can he take the punishment in the National Football League? First of all, you can barely even touch a quarterback anymore. I mean, dude, look at the call that Brady got against the AFC Championship game. He literally was tapped on the shoulder. You can't drive people into the ground anymore. You can't hit them high anymore. You can't hit them low. That's roughing the passer. If you hit them inside the pocket and you chop their legs, like that's roughing the passer. Now the argument would be, well, that's what happens when he gets outside of the pocket. Sliding now, you can slide face forward now, or just slide baseball, like old school baseball style. You can't touch them when they do that. You literally cannot touch them. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be a problem for Kyler Murray sliding with his baseball background and all that other stuff, and especially how small he is. That's not going to be a problem with him. Now he's not. I know he knows he's not Cam Newton, and he's going to lower his shoulder and run over 250-pound linebackers going full 20 miles per hour. He's not going to do that. Because he doesn't have the body for that. So, to me, the whole play style issue thing, it should be thrown out the window. Now, when it becomes the height, that's something that he's going to have to, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. That's an interesting question. Now, people have said, the whole him not being able to see over the offensive line is stupid, because that does not change from the college football level to the National Football League level. It doesn't. Now, things move a lot faster, but looking over your offensive line doesn't change. They're still 6'8" in college. So that whole thing should be thrown out the window. And there are quarterbacks like 6 foot. Brock Osweiler is 6'7", or maybe even 6'8". How many tip balls did he have? We all watched it. It was terrible. He had tons of tip balls. And he's a terrible quarterback. So, again, whatever. And everybody, the thing that's even made me even more confident, the people that have been a little bit more skeptical of him, now that they've gotten to be around him and stuff like that, have completely changed their tune about him, which I think is a good thing. The Dan Patrick Show incident is a perfect example of that. Even though he had that terrible interview, and I think he was just trying to hide it, and so this was a big life decision, and he's also not the oldest cat in the world. He hasn't been around the bin at times, so he probably didn't know how to handle it the best way you could possibly handle it. With all that being said, they still were super impressed about when they did the stupid throwing segment and stuff like that, about how his arm talent is ridiculous. Anybody who's been Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, anybody who have seen him throw in person has been super impressed. Dan Patrick has been just been very, very impressed with how strong his arm is. And I think, against Alabama, we saw that throw on the run was just ridiculous. So he has it all. It's just the height and the play style things that keep being brought up. I don't think those things are going to be issues on the next level. So I think he's going to be, to me, I think he'll be a franchise quarterback easy. For whoever gets him, he's going to be very successful. Think about the whole RPO movement. He would be unstoppable. Someone brought up back in the a while ago in the comment section below, could you imagine him in September and October in Miami just tiring defenses out with his athletic ability, and he could throw from the pocket? Dude, I think, in my opinion, this is how I feel about him. I think he's a franchise quarterback. I really do. And I think whoever is going to get him is getting a very good, very, very good quarterback. I really do believe that. Now, some people have brought up inexperience, especially with this class, a lot of inexperience. Really, this is his first year starting an entire season, which is crazy. And you can say that about, really, Dwayne Haskins, this was basically his first year starting. Drew Lock, I think some people throw that around with him, but I really don't get that. He started for 2 years, so I don't think that's going to be as big of an issue. But he's not like a Baker Mayfield who's like a seasoned veteran. But dude. Josh Allen came from literally the Wisconsin, right off the farm, dude. He didn't play at a big school at all, and against way, way, way lower tier talent. So I don't think that's going to be an issue either with the experience thing, especially since you hear all the time about how NFL offenses are adopting what college, especially with rookie quarterbacks. The same thing they did with Deshaun. The biggest one was when Bill O'Brien changed his offense for Deshaun Watson. Everybody's doing it now. Same thing with Andy Reid did with Kansas City. Some of those similar elements. So all of that, dude. Kyler Murray, quick release, strong arm, ridiculously athletic, dynamic playmaker. Everything you would want in a quarterback, in my opinion. He's just not 6'5". And there's a lot of quarterbacks nowadays that are just getting it. I mean, Lamar is 6 feet tall. Drew Brees is 5'10", 5'11". Same thing with Russell Wilson. There have been short quarterbacks that have had Steve Young, not a very tall guy, that have had a lot of success in the National Football League. Michael Vick, those guys are like 6 feet, so it's not as bad. It's not that much of a difference. So he would be my number one, and I really like. I've said this from the beginning. I love Kyler Murray. I think he's a great player, and even when he didn't decide, I really hope the Dolphins do draft him. I really, really hope the Dolphins draft him. In terms of two is easy. I would say Dwayne Haskins. He had a ridiculously good season with Ohio State, just lighting people up. Washington has a lot of. They have draft prospects in their secondary. High draft prospects. So it's not like he was going against bad defenses, and he lit them up. He lit them up. And Washington's produced a lot of really good defenders over the last few years. Got a good coaching staff down there, developing really good players, and they have a lot of good players coming out this year. So it's not like he's been doing it against scrubs, and he's been lighting them up. He's more of a pocket passer, less of a dynamic of a playmaker. You're going to have weapons around him for him to be super successful. I think Kyler Murray can elevate the talent around him, even though we really haven't seen him do that yet. He was at he had a lot of talent around him in Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley offense, all that other stuff. But I think he possesses the ability to be able to do that. I don't think Dwayne has that ability to be that like an Aaron Rodgers who can move the pocket, make up for a bad offensive line, that kind of stuff. So that's why he would be second to me. But when it comes to passing the football, you guys see it. He look at some of the deep throws he's made. They're on point. He's got a quick release. Everything. The eye test. He passes the eye test. Like I've said before, reminds me a little bit of Warren Moon, just the way his play style and the way he passes the football. And he has that kind of athleticism. That's like his bar. Warren Moon was a Michael Vick, but he still could get loose. So I think. That kind of a player, if you know what I'm trying to get at. So he would be second for me. Third is where it gets really hard. This is where it gets tough. I would have to say, Drew Lock and Daniel Jones, it's a tough one. Because both of them have their own thing. Like, Daniel Jones, was it him or was it the talent around him? Was the reason for him being way less productive than the other guys. I think it was the talent around him. People might disagree with that. When you look at Drew Lock, to be honest, this is why I put Drew Lock over Daniel Jones. The more I think about it, the more I've watched of Drew Lock, the reasons for me to be down on him just keep going. They don't make any sense to me. You can make the same argument for Drew Lock than you do as Daniel Jones. Drew Lock was also way more productive than Daniel Jones, and he played in the SEC. So the fact that you can make the same argument, their talent around them was not that good. One was way more productive than the other one, and he was in a harder division. So that's why I'm going to go with Drew Lock. Plus, he's more physically gifted. I think he's probably not the faster guy, that's for sure, but he's definitely got a bigger arm. He's definitely not the pocket passer that Daniel Jones is. I don't think he is as accurate as Daniel Jones is. In terms of maybe with the shorter intermediate stuff, but he has a way quicker release. He can push the ball down the field. He has the athleticism to get loose. Former, I think he was a high school basketball star or something like that. But the reason I'm picking Drew Lock, and that I've completely changed my mind with the whole Daniel Jones debate, who's better, is because of that. The same argument, like people go, Daniel Jones, he played at Duke, he didn't have that. Well, same thing with Drew Lock. He played at Missouri, who's been the doormat for the SEC teams for the last 3 or 4 years. So to me, I think that's the biggest, the deciding difference in my opinion, because it is pretty close. They both do things very well that the other one doesn't. Daniel Jones is a big quarterback. He's very athletic. He's very accurate down the field. A lot of touchdowns were dropped last year for him. When you look at Drew Lock, a lot of people are saying he has an arm like Stafford. He moves a lot. He's a better athlete than Stafford was. Similar similar stats that Stafford had at Georgia. Completion percentage not the greatest, but when you look at the talent and when you look at the touchdowns he throws for and some of the plays that he's made and the quick release that he has, that gets you very, very excited. So that was my deciding factors. Those are my top 3. After that, after you get out of the 3, other than Daniel Jones, like, there's really, I mean, Ryan Finley, I think if I had to go 4 and 5, I would say Daniel Jones and Ryan Finley. I don't like Will Grier at all. I don't know why people like him as much as they do. I don't know. He reminds me a lot of, I don't think he's a franchise quarterback in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I just don't think he is. I guess I shouldn't say I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I wouldn't be comfortable using a high round pick on him. I hate when people are like, oh, I don't think he'll do this or be that. Well, I think it really comes down, do you feel comfortable using a high round pick on him? I think is a better way to say it. So, yeah. So let's get into the fan Q&A, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you can ask fan questions. If you want to be a part of that, then go check out the channel. If you made it 30 minutes into this video, at least click on the channel and at least, think about doing anything at this point. This is free. It's not, I'm not saying this is Netflix level content here, but I'm saying, hey, throw me a bone. So yeah, let's get to the fan Q&A. Now, I did upload this earlier, so hopefully we get a chunky amount. I'm not expecting 80 questions, but you know what I mean, of questions, so we make this podcast a little bit longer. Alright, boys. This first question comes from Ron. He asks, what are your thoughts on Arizona Cardinals hiring Mike Tannenbaum? We talked about it a little bit. What are my thoughts? He's not good at what he did. When he was in New York, he was ran out of New York. He comes to Miami. For some reason, survived. I think Stephen Ross is too nice of a guy. I really do. For some reason, he survived one regime to the next one, then was fired. So he survived did survive. He was a part of 2 regimes before he was fired. That's crazy. A VP of football operations being held to no accountability like that is ridiculous. So the fact that he's going to, he built, who really built that AFC Championship team? Seriously, was it him? Was it Rex Ryan? Who the heck was it? Obviously went back-to-back AFC Championships. They didn't win anything, though. They got beat in the AFC Championship game. If we were rewarded with all the times we've been beat in the AFC Championship game, Dan Marino would be the greatest quarterback of all time. We would have, that's not something to be proud of. And when I say the greatest quarterback of all time, he would be mainstream-wise, he would be considered that. If AFC Championship losses were held to so high esteem where you can get fired 3 times and then still get a job elsewhere, being the vice president of football operations. Yeah, they're getting he's not good at his job. What else can I say? He's just not good at his job. We have two examples of that where it's gone terribly wrong when he's been hired. It's not like, oh, well, maybe it was this organization. No, dude. And you're going to the Cardinals of all organizations. This isn't like the New England Patriots, the 49ers of the 80s and 90s. This is the dang Arizona Cardinals. This next question comes from Will. He asks, any corners in the draft or free agency you have your eye on to pair with X? In free agency, Steven Nelson, I think, is probably the best because he doesn't get hurt and he's a solid corner. And he plays a lot of, all he did in Kansas City was play press man. That's all he did. And he did a pretty decent job at it. And you're like, oh, Kansas City defense was terrible. Yeah, it was, but Steven Nelson was actually pretty high. He was pretty good. He wasn't great. There was a lot of good players on that defense. Chris Jones, D. Ford, Steven Nelson, I think was a solid corner. And especially at the 2 position, with this type of a scheme, I think he fits in perfectly. In terms of the draft, Greedy Williams I like a lot. LSU DB, big, long, obviously a lot of press man in his college background, athletic, and all of them. LSU has. Look at all the DBs they've developed: Patrick Peterson, Dante Jackson, Tre'Davious White. I almost said Ladarius White. Tre'Davious White. This most recently. I'm thinking of some other one. I'm blanking on some other ones. Say Pat P. I would have to look them all up, but there's a lot of them. All right. Yeah, so Greedy Williams and Steven Nelson would be my picks there. This next question comes from Adam Burke. He asks, I don't understand the logic with getting a stopgap quarterback. It's possible the Dolphins could get a Bridgewater who is still young and I think hasn't shown his full potential and not need to draft a quarterback, which they should anyway. Do you think if the Dolphins signed a quarterback that is showing potential and wins them 7 games in year 1, they would trade up to get a Trevor Lawrence or a Tua Tagovailoa? It's the first time I've nailed his last name. I'm pretty sure I nailed it. Okay, so this is an interesting question. The question is, would you sign a quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater? And if he wins you 7 games, would you still trade up for Lawrence or Tua? Yes, I would definitely do that. For sure. 7 games isn't nothing. And I know you're probably saying, well, if you won 7 games with this roster, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I guess you can make that argument. But really, I'm going to leave Trevor out of this because if he wins 7 games 2 years in a row, then obviously you draft Trevor Lawrence. But because Trevor he's not draft eligible until 2021. So Tua would be the only one you would do this for. So I think to answer your question, no, I would still draft Tua or Trevor. And would I sign a quarterback this year? If I can't trade for one, I still think, which just segues into another question that someone had. But the trade quarterbacks out there who are on the trade market supposedly are Josh Rosen, Jacoby Brissett, and Derek Carr. And so I think 3 of those are pretty talented players. But Teddy Bridgewater, I think you can make an argument, is just as good as those 3. So I'm not opposed to signing Teddy, depending on what the contract is, because he's not going to be our long-term thing. But let's say we sign Teddy, which I'm okay with. I don't mind that at all. He wins 7 games, then yeah, you still draft Tua for sure. You don't want to win 7 games if the goal is Tua, but you still go after Tua in that scenario. But yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Shout out to who keeps asking me the Jacoby. You keep asking that question in the podcast videos. You do not ask them. Maybe you do, and I haven't seen it yet though. Maybe we'll get to it. But whoever, I can't remember your name, but shout out to you, dude, because you asked her first. The whole Jacoby. You know who the heck I'm talking about too. So you know. I just can't remember your name. This next question comes from Corporate Gamer. He says. He asks, I would not mind trading like a 4th or 5th round pick to get Jacoby Brissett or even getting Nick Mullins on a cheap deal. Thoughts? Yeah, I would totally be down for that, for sure. I don't even think we have a 4th round pick, but I would be down to clown with that 1,000%. I like Nick Mullins a lot. Jacoby Brissett has that escapability. He's not a great pocket passer, though. He's a really good deep. He can push the ball down the field, but he cannot. Anything intermediate seems to be a struggle. But he's a playmaker and can push the ball down the field, that's for sure. He's just not consistent with accuracy. This next question comes from Ron. He says, what is your thoughts on Antonio Brown sounding off on Big Ben? Dude, to be honest with you, it's a lot of hypocrisy. A lot of contradictions, a lot of just, what the heck are you talking about? Antonio Brown is calling Big Ben out for not being the bigger man, not being a leader. Well, Antonio Brown, you did, and throwing your status in the organization around in other people's faces to get away with stuff, you did the exact same thing, dude. Not only did Antonio Brown refuse to play the last game of the season because of a scuffle in practice, which you just criticized Big Ben for not being the bigger man. You weren't there in that situation, but you were constantly asking for trade and all that other stuff. So they both are doing it. I think it's just I think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. They're both huge divas, like big time divas. This next question comes to Ron. He asks, those are 2 totally different Rons too, I think. Yeah. There's a lot of Rons, dude. Ron asks, what would be your perfect draft this year? Mine would be round 1, Kyler Murray. I'm with you, Ron, and I'm not usually with you on that kind of stuff, but I'm with you right now. I'm with you, dude. I'm right next to you. I'm holding your hand right now. Take me on this journey. Take me on this perfect draft journey. Round 2, Jenkins, center from Mississippi State. Round 3, LJ Collier, edge rusher, TCU. Okay, hang on. Let's keep going. Round 5, you're taking me on this journey right now. Round 5, guard, BJ Autry, Jacksonville State. Round 6, Byron Cowhart, Maryland, and that's a D lineman. Round 7, D lineman Albert Huggins, Clemson. I like that draft, dude. I like selecting the interior lineman there. Maybe I take one of. Maybe I try to get a higher. Maybe I go 3 and 4 guards in that situation. Well, you did round 2. No, never mind, because you did center second. But maybe I go round 3 and 4 guards. I'm not joking around. Depending on who's there. But I'm not mad at this draft. I think it's really good. I would be very, very happy with this draft for sure. So, to be honest with you, Ron, I'm with you, bro. The first 3 rounds are pretty good. I think the first 2 are perfect. I would... I mean, again, I don't know who the heck is there, but round 1 and 2, I like a lot. TJ Warren, I think maybe I'm getting his name mixed up again. I like him a lot. I think he's a perfect like New England style like edge protector. And I say edge protector because in this scheme you really want someone who can do it all in terms of set the edge in the run game and also be a good pass rusher. So, yeah, the Kyler Murray thing. I think hey, everybody get on this get on the train, dude. If you're not on the train, then you're not here, dude. If you're not on the Kyler Murray train, what are you doing? If you're on that Tua train, I got you. If you're on that Trevor Lawrence train, I'm not waiting 3 years to draft a quarterback. If you think I'm waiting, I guess it wouldn't be 3, it'd be 2. I'm not waiting 2 years, dude. Are you this season, next season, and then another season? No, bro. Well, it would be this season, next season. So, yeah, it would be 2 years. But here's the deal. I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. Dude, choo-choo, bro. Listen, get on this train right now because when Kyler Murray, hopefully, God willing, he is drafted to the Dolphins and he lights it up. I'm talking lights it up his rookie year. Because we still got some pretty decent players on this offense. We still got Kenyon, we still got Kalen, we still got Albert, we still got Jakeem, Kenny. Obviously decent deep threat. Well, 3 people who can stretch the field. Let's go get it, dude. We got Mike Gesicki. Hopefully he stands up in his second season, dude. We got 2 good tackles. Hopefully we keep Juwan and Laramie. Laramie's one of the best tackles in the league. Juwan's solid. We revamped this interior, and we get after it. And I'm all in, dude. And listen, man, again, get on the train while you still can. This next question comes from Vladimir. He says, what are your thoughts... Vladimir, wow. He says, that's an interesting name. What's your thoughts about this loaded staff, and would you have given any of them up for John Harbaugh? No, I like this staff a lot. I don't think it could get... Again, to me, this is the second best staff assembled. I think Tampa did a great job getting Bruce and Bruce is one of those names you hear it and you don't think a lot about it, but when you say it, it's like, what the heck was that? But Todd Bowles, to assemble those 2 together, I think is just almost a match made in heaven, and that's the closest thing you can get to that. So I think what he did was just as good as well, but I would say second, just because those 2 are have a really good resume. Corpa Gamer says, he asks, it's a great question, Vladimir. He asks, agree or disagree, the most likely next Dolphins starting quarterback will either be Drew Lock or Tua. That's a tough one, dude. And before I answer the question, in terms of excitement factor, who would I be more excited and who would I get behind more? Obviously Tua. But who is more likely? I think Tua, too. I think probably Tua. Drew Lock's a good quarterback, dude, but there are still a lot of question marks on him. And he doesn't... there's still question marks with him. And the excitement level that I would have for Kyler Murray taking snaps, and you can't really even say under center anymore. It's more like shotgun because nobody runs that anymore. But taking snaps back there, I mean, dude, that gets me going right now, dude. I want to see that game right now. Tell me, regardless if you like Kyler Murray or not, tell me you don't want to see that. Who doesn't want to see him in a Dolphins uniform? And I would love to hear why you don't. I really would. Ooh, dude. And if I'm wrong about this, dude, Woo-wee. I won't hear the end of it, but, dude, I get on the train right now, dude. Get on the train right now. And I would not be surprised if Cincinnati did some shady business because people will keep forgetting about them, dude. They need a quarterback, and Zach Taylor just got there, who's an offensive-minded guy. If I swear, I will throw... out of all the teams, I really don't want the Bengals to get him. I also don't want the Jaguars to get him because they're in Florida, too. But I will throw stuff, dude. It better be the Giants or us who get Kyler Murray. I mean, again, this is the last stop, boys. You better get on this train right now, dude. I'm serious. Everybody on this train. Push it, dude. All the fans out there, dude. Push this. Push it. I want Kyler Murray. Seriously. He would be the most talented quarterback we've taken since Marino. That's not even close. Like, the potential that Kyler has is more than... I mean, he is like Goku. He just has to hit that training room, and he could become a god. Just with the physical gifts that he has. Think about this. He's a quarterback who was drafted in the first round. The first time that's ever happened, I'm pretty sure. A 2-star athlete that's been drafted in the first round of 2 different professional establishments. Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders are the other ones that could play both sports at a high level. Think about what level of an athlete those guys were. And put that in a quarterback. Who can throw the football? This next question comes from Ron. He says, do you think Greg Williams is a good hire for Gase? Apparently not, because they don't get along with each other. Dude, that was going to be a sick article. I get a lot of hate, dude. A lot of hate for telling people like Adam Gase is a good coach, all this other stuff. I still believe he is, and I'll say it again. I'm not afraid. I don't care if you disagree with me. I think he's a good man, and I think he's a good coach. I really do believe that. I think everybody who's played for him liked him. I think the reason he was fired was more so he didn't want to rebuild, and I think Steven wanted to go in a different direction with the organization, and I think what he has done is the right move. But Adam, I think, is a good coach. I mean, look at the people that put him on such a high pedestal. You think about Peyton Manning. I mean, that's a trump card right there. The people that believe in him. But apparently, yeah, Adam has a problem with getting along with people. I will say that, and that's a part of being a head coach. And apparently, those two are not getting along, which is hilarious. This next question comes from Ron. He asks, do you think the new FO with Greer at the helm can finally scout a real hit on the interior offensive line? Previous drafts have used resources to draft guard centers, but rarely have they panned out. Most notable to me was taking Billy Turner instead of Gabe Jackson. Well, those were different. Obviously, he was in the organization as a scout, but those were different times, dude. Those were Jeff Ireland times. Those were Dennis Hickey times. Those were dark times. Those were Joe Philbin times. So it's a different regime now. A lot of different people making the decisions. You think about Reggie McKenzie. I forgot that Reggie McKenzie was a part of those old Green Bay Packer teams that were so talented. So it's a completely different organization. But that is your question. Do you think it'll be different? Yeah, I do think it'll be different. And I think we'll probably invest in those positions, especially with Reggie McKenzie being an offensive line guy. So yeah, I think those. I think you can see because to me, you're making an investment to be a more physical football team when you invest in guys like that with interior linemen and especially even D linemen and linebackers. You invest in being a really good physical football team. And you have to build it through the line out, dude. And that rings true. That rings true. And I do think things will be different. This next question comes from Will. He says, have you seen either of the Ole Miss wide receivers or Hakeem Butler? Chances on us drafting one of them to replace Parker. Well, I know one of them is going in the first. I think both of them I've seen in the first round before. That could be wrong, but I think so. They both look like they're taking steroids. I mean, good God, dude, wow. That's all I gotta say about that. But to me, Marquise Brown is by far the best receiver in this draft. He's really good, and to me, that's probably the most surefire receiver. But he's not getting out of the first. This next question comes from Corporate. So have you seen either? I've seen them. Yes, God, what is his name, dude? I forget the both of them are big guys, but. I can't remember his name. I would have to look him up, and I don't feel like looking him up. But there's one of them that I really like. Corporate Gamer says, that's the one that's in the first round, and some people have him going over Marquise Brown. I can't remember his name though. He's the better one. Corporate Gamer says, would it be worth getting Tyrell Williams in free agency? No, I don't. I mean, he's a deep threat kind of a guy, and we have a lot of those. Corporate Gamer asks, a few weeks ago I asked you about Preston Smith, and you said he's a 4-3, but he has all his career been a 3-4 outside linebacker from Mississippi State to the Redskins. He would be a very underrated pickup. What the heck are you talking about? Preston Smith. I mean, if I said that, I think there's 2 Preston Smiths, if I'm not mistaken. But I know who you're talking about. And Preston Smith. Let me look this up. I know who you're talking about, but I'm pretty sure there are 2 Preston Smiths. And he's more of a, to be honest with you, I mean, he's a good edge guy. Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I don't know why I would say he's a 4-3 guy. That's weird. Well, I'm an idiot. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's a good football player. I think I think he does fit the scheme a lot. That's actually a good call. Because he's good against the run too. I think he's probably he does everything that you would want a Patriot style guy to do. So yeah, that's actually a good solid get. Corporate Gamer says, who is the best guard in the draft? Oh God. I know a lot of people. Is his name Jonah Williams or the Jonathan Williams? It's the tackle from Alabama. I know a lot of people have him playing inside, so probably him. Sam, this question comes from Sam. He says, hey Skaggs, should the Fins draft Jeffrey Simmons, DT/edge out of Mississippi State in the 3rd or 4th, a projected first-round pick who tore his ACL and let him sit a year like the Cowboys did with Jalen Smith? Yeah. I'm going to be, would you say, 2nd, 3rd? Yeah, definitely 3rd or 4th for sure. Always take a flyer out on those guys, dude. Always. Same thing with Miles Jack. He would have been a first-round. He would have been a Dolphin if the Jaguars weren't just getting in our way, number 1. But number 2, he probably would have been a Dolphin in the first round if he didn't hurt his knee. And he's a great player now. Matthew Nin said, this question comes from Matthew, and he said, I saw a rumor that Kenny Stills is not safe. Do you think they will trade/release Stills? We have 3 receivers that do the same thing. They're all 3 deep threats, so I wouldn't be upset at that. I think he's definitely a higher level route runner than Jakeem and Albert, but they all do the same thing. And I think Albert and Jakeem are way better run after the catch players. Douglas Ward asks, he asks, I'd like us to stay at 13 and take the best player we can get. I'm sure the media has us doing something dumb like giving up a future number 1 draft pick for a filler quarterback. What do you think we should do? Yeah, I've seen that too, dude. Literally someone on Pro Football Focus, I think it was, said they're going to draft Daniel Jones just because they need a quarterback. That was it. And I'm like, wow, that's whew. So, now you might think, well, yeah, no, dude. If you don't just draft someone regardless of their talent just because they play a position. That's why it's stupid. So who do I think we're gonna? What should we do? To me, if I'm the GM, I'm all after Kyler. We're going in, dude. I'm not joking, dude. I'm on the train. I'm on the train. Whatever it takes. Corporate Gamer says, would you... Oh, God. I accidentally clicked this other thing. God, this is the last question, too. He asks, would you be mad if Devontae Parker went to Pittsburgh and succeeded? Because that's the team I see getting him when they get rid of AB. Well, no, I would not be mad that he succeeded. I don't care. If Devontae goes on to be this great player, I don't care. It just didn't work out here, dude. I mean, we've been waiting years for it to work out. It never did, unfortunately. There's nothing we can... I mean, what the heck... How many years has it been? 3-4 years now? I mean, it's been long enough. He's never going to be that player. Doesn't matter what it... Like, schematic changes, whatever it is. I don't think he'll ever be that player that can take over a football game. He's just not consistent enough. Whether it's health or it's just play. He's never consistent. Now, Chad, our offensive coordinator, has turned water on the line when it comes to receivers. That's what makes it so interesting. But again, dude, I think we're just holding on to that hope that he is going to be this Calvin Johnson-like player that we all thought he was going to be. With some of the catches, if I made a compilation of the greatest Devontae Parker catches of all time, you would think he's Calvin Johnson, like some of the AJ Green type of a guy. Like some of the catches he's made have been absolutely ridiculous, like ridiculous. The Baltimore Ravens catch, the Patriots catch, the Raiders catch, if you guys remember that one. The Steelers in the playoffs, that catch was insane. He's had so many sick catches. She had 2 catches in the 49ers game that didn't count that were so ridiculous. He's a flash in the pan type of player, man. He does things at such a high level one game, and then he doesn't do it the next game. So much so that the coaching staff, I mean, granted, the coaching staff wasn't very good, but they didn't trust him on a week-to-week basis. So, and that's carried over from different regimes. So, we'll see, man. I don't know. That's a call that they have to make. But are you willing to keep him around? You're definitely not going to franchise tag him. That's for sure. What does his market look like? I don't know. Or is he his 5th-year option? I don't know. I would have to. I can't remember. But either way, I don't know if you take that flyer out on him. I really don't think you do. Maybe it's just time to let go. With him. It sucks too. Like I mean, I don't want to repeat myself, but I remember when we drafted him, and I was so excited. Other than Amari Cooper, he was my second favorite player in that draft for us to take. That like player overall, but just like players that we could take and that we would be looking for, like a receiver, he was my second favorite. So I remember when Amari Cooper did the interview, like every draft, he does interviews. I remember Amari saying how bad he wanted to play in Miami and all this other stuff. Got me hyped up. But when we took DP, I was like, oh snap. It's about to get real. And obviously it never did get real. It never did get real. Either with Tannehill too. I mean, I was obviously by Tannehill's hip all the time, and I still kind of am. I still think he's a good player, but he just isn't that franchise quarterback that we've been searching for. So it is what it is. Hopefully, again, this is the last chance to get on the train, because I don't want these people out here. This is what I want to happen. If you're not on the train, and let's say we take him and he balls out, right? I don't want you to be this guy who's like, oh, I'm following the mainstream now. I'm just going to agree with, like, you better just say, hey, I was wrong. And that's okay, dude. You know why it's okay? Because we have someone throwing 30 touchdowns a year. That's why it's okay. And again, I could be wrong. If we take Will Greer or something like that and he becomes Kurt Warner, I don't care. I'd be like, dude, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I want to be wrong. But Kyler is, I think, going to be a great player. So that's going to be it, guys. I'm Skagster83, and I cannot wait to see you guys in next week's episode. There should be a lot of stuff that happens. Obviously, negotiations are opening up here soon, and there should be a lot of moves that the Dolphins make, so we'll have a lot to talk about on the next podcast. A lot more juicy news. Maybe the Dolphins will, maybe we'll get some rumors about if they're going to target a quarterback in free agency. What are they going to do? Is Tannehill going to get traded, cut? It's going to be interesting stuff officially. We all expect that to happen, but these next 2 weeks are going to be really interesting. So, yep. And I will see you guys in the next one again. If you want to support, please do. If you made it 58 minutes into this video, which if you did, leave a comment down. Leave a comment down below. Say, yeah, I did. Because that's insane, and I really appreciate that. You don't even have to like the video. You don't have to subscribe. If you made it 58 minutes into this video, thank God. God bless you. That means I did somewhat of a good job on this podcast. So, I will see you guys but again, support any way I can. And I'll see you guys in the next one.